Welcome to Recruiting Intel on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook. That's Justin Wells. We may get Coach Dub with us, may not, but doesn't matter. We're talking the latest on 2026 recruiting and a little bit more on some 2027 guys, plus a little hoops. Had some good news today. So make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We appreciate it. We bring recruiting intel every single week. And, of course, if you have not done so yet, what you need to do, go to that first link in our description. Join Inside Texas just for $1. We had a Q&A going on today. We had the latest from Steve Sarkisian and the players from yesterday. We've got a lot of coverage as Texas gets ready to start SEC play. So go join Inside Texas for just $1. If you do that, we'll throw in a full year of access to The Athletic. And, Justin, we're getting fancy. If you're watching on TV, watching on a computer, hey, we got a QR code for you to hit right there. Yeah, we're moving up a little bit. So make sure you try that. I'll keep that up for a few more seconds. Today, though, we're going to talk a little bit about a 2026 play, a 2026 linebacker who has his official visit date scheduled for the Longhorns. 2027 commit, 2026 commit, 2027 prospect. We're going all over the place. But first, Justin, as I try to get the QR code off the screen, of course, again, go to Inside Texas. It's the first link in our description. We got to talk a little bit about Braylon Hodge from Cherry Creek High School in Colorado, still a Michigan State commit. He visited Texas just a couple weeks ago. Those were unofficials, and now he's got now he has his official just about ready to be embarked on in a couple months.
Braylon Hodge. Look, Texas needs another linebacker in this class of 2026. Braylon Hodge would be a fantastic third. Like, this would be such a good class if he joined Kosi Okpala and Tyler Atkinson. He's one of those things that we like to call the late senior bloomers, late senior risers, a late senior eval. You know, everybody expects everybody to be ready to be committed and go to college by their junior year and recruiting these days. Sometimes it takes a senior year for these guys to kind of bloom. And that's exactly what Braylon Hodge has done. I call him the Braden Rouse of the West Coast. Look, I don't think he's going to be, talking to a couple of Michigan State guys the other day, I don't think he's going to stay committed to Michigan State. This is going to come down to three schools: Oregon, Michigan, and Texas. Like you said, he was at Texas 2 weekends ago for an unofficial. He was back at Michigan this last weekend for an unofficial. And now he's setting up those OVs. Beginning in late October, he's going to see Michigan. He's going to see Oregon. He's got one more, and then he's going to see Texas at the end. And I like that Texas gets the last say. They get the last official, and it's actually going to be on the weekend of the Texas A&M game. And so that's a time to pick an OV. So I think he's going to have a fantastic time. I mentioned this like last week to watch Oregon because they had jumped in kind of late like Texas did. Michigan was one of those earlier ones to kind of jump in. I want to say they offered him maybe a month ago, maybe even less than that, actually. Braylon's just a fantastic kid. Really good interview. Very, very insightful young man. And we all know how those Cherry Creek guys in Inglewood, Colorado play out in Austin with Gunnar Helm and his success. So this is a kid Texas really wants. This is a guy Johnny Nansen has been running point on, and this is one of those that he's kind of taking over. And so we won't know anything until the end of November, but I like that Texas has the last OV. Oregon's going to make it a battle. Michigan's going to make it a battle. I don't know how much NIL is going to be involved here, but I have a suspicion it's going to be a small factor in all. And so at 6'3", 210, 215 pounds, Hodge is a really fun guy. I posted some notes on him earlier today at InsideTexas.com. Be sure to click on that and check it out. But Joe, we'll know in a couple months kind of where Hodge is leaning, where Hodge might wind up. But again, Texas getting the last OV, I think, is imperative in this.
This seems like something where, and I know I'm covering a wide range of outcomes. He either decommits at some point, or he may not, and just may make a decision on the first signing day. You know, going through the process, seeing Oregon, seeing Michigan, seeing Texas, still maintaining that commitment to Michigan State. It's, when you think about leverage and different things like that, not a program that can probably tell somebody like Hodge, like, thanks, but no thanks, get gone. Like, they want him too, just that some other programs who have had, better recent histories are coming calling at this point. So I feel like the next thing we hear is either, decommitting from Michigan State, or like final announcement is set to be on this date. That's typically where this goes. There are other outcomes that are possible. Obviously, if he gets a visit and feels like that's the place, we've seen that happen too. But I feel like those two are what we're kind of waiting on.
I can also mention our Michigan State site. I caught up with them a couple of days ago. They think a decommitment is just a matter of time. They were asking me about flip picks. At this point, it's not, is he going to decommit? It's who is he going to flip to? And we've heard that tone of voice before.
We'll keep on going. We're going to go to the 2027 class. We're going to talk about Texas' only current 2027 commit. That is Taven Epps. And kind of funny, I was flipping channels, I think, a couple Fridays ago, and, I luckily get some random stuff in my sports package. Tustin High School was playing a little bit of football. He looked good out there. I like that, his position designation. As we kind of expected, he kept on growing. He kept on getting a little bit bigger and bigger. Yeah. He's in that edge classification now. Yeah. And as you might expect with a player from, I think, Tustin's Northern California, I don't think it's in like any big metro area, or if it is, it's in a lesser known metro area in Northern California. That makes sense. He's been big on Texas. We know he has family in the Lone Star State, but he is taking advantage of the process, and he got to see another game this past weekend.
Yeah, so you know the old saying, Joe. When you have a junior commitment, that's just a standing offer still. Like, especially when he's out of state. But
I'm wrong. Tustin's in it's right by Irvine and Santa Ana, and so it's Orange County. So it is SoCal.
Oh. Okay. Oh, that's a little bit different, but you know what? This kid tracks and smacks. He's got great tape. He's a Texas native. He was born and raised early on in the state of Texas, and I think that has as much to do with his early commitment as anything. To be totally honest with you, that and the fact that Texas loves top edge prospects. I mean, that's kind of what they go hunting for every year. But nothing says out of state commitment from a junior like taking other visits. And Taven is taking some other visits. USC is pushing. They don't want to let him go back to the Lone Star State. They're trying to keep him out there in Cali. He was there a couple weekends ago. He was in Georgia last weekend, and as Rivals Greg Smith reported, he had a really good time. He checked a lot of boxes. He really enjoyed hanging out and seeing Georgia in that atmosphere against Alabama. That's going to be a fun atmosphere. Win or lose as a recruit, that's going to be a really good time. And it was. He really enjoyed it. There's a chance he could be back, and there's a chance he could set an official visit for Georgia as well. Notre Dame, North Carolina, both schools that are trying to get him on campus for a visit as well. Those guys, Notre Dame's kind of been in the mix there for a while anyway. I don't think they're going to let up. But I don't think there's anything to see here yet. Just understand he's an out-of-state commitment in a class 2 years ahead, and they're going to take trips. That's just part of it. It would be silly if he didn't. He's supposed to be back in Dallas in 2 weeks for the Texas OU game, and he's also supposed to be back in Austin November 22nd for the Texas A&M game. So he's not skipping the horns. He's going a little bit all over the place, a little globe trotting, but nothing to see here right now. I think Texas is still pretty good.
The one thing I'm just kind of taking away from all this is the schools you're mentioning: Georgia, Notre Dame.
Playoffs.
While he was at Georgia, he was watching Alabama, Texas, USC. Notre Dame's always had a little bit of a presence in Southern California because some of the best high schools are Catholic schools, and whatever pipeline that's worth is there. Notre Dame also plays in Los Angeles every other year until Lincoln Riley gets his way. So that makes sense that they're there. It just is so many different places, so many different schools are trying to take advantage of getting guys out of Southern California now that UCLA is a bottom feeder in that conference, and that now that Lincoln Riley has a record that's just behind Clay Helton's at USC. And, you know, a lot of these prospects have been thinking about, how do I try to go to another place for a while? I think there's a lot of different factors into that, but just these schools just kind of shows like, okay, it's Alabama, it's Georgia, it's Texas, it's Notre Dame, it's USC. Like, I bet we're going to hear Oregon at some point. Like, it just kind of speaks to what the situation in Southern California kind of looks like for top prospects.
I think you covered that. Now let's pay some bills.
Before we keep going, got to show some love to our sponsor. One of those is Game Time.
We are in September, so that means college football is in full swing. And if you want to get in on the college football action with the best tickets, there's no other place to go than Game Time. The Game Time app gives the advantage back to fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences in a few taps. Game Time is one of the easiest apps to work with. You get a view of your seat, you get an all-in price, and you get the best deals like college football tickets as low as $25. Love the feature that shows you what your view looks like. I looked at tickets in the Horseshoe. You saw what it was like in the Ohio Stadium right there on your screen. You can do the same for Darrell K. Royal Texas Memorial Stadium. You get exclusive discounts like zone deals where you choose the section, Game Time selects the seat, and you save. Fees are included, so you know your total up front. No surprise at checkout. You can snag new ticket deals before anyone finds out by following your favorite teams in the Game Time app to receive alerts. And Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. They have the lowest price guarantee. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code ON3, ON3 for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time app today or go to gametime.co.
All right, Justin, got to talk a little bit about a commit that Texas is another defensive tackle commit that Texas is working to keep within the fold. We saw Corey Wells get some predictions from us, even to Auburn. Yeah. He showed up on the 40 acres a few weeks later. Seems like things have kind of held steady there. Auburn's defenses look good, but so is Texas defense, and we know what Kenny Baker likes doing with defensive tackles. Similar situation, sort of, with Dylan Berryman. We know Ole Miss is the team that seems to be making the most noise, but there's one in the Big Ten that is also trying to come out and get to and put their claws into Texas's North Louisiana defensive tackle commit.
Yeah, the two schools that Texas beat for Berryman's commitment are the ones that are still in hot pursuit, Purdue and Ole Miss. And he's hit Ole Miss a couple times since the season started. So that gets your antennas setting off a little bit. But this is very typical. Again, an out-of-state commitment. It's going to take visits, going to take trips. Berryman is one of those kids. They've got 4 defensive tackles in this cycle, defensive linemen, and they can afford to miss out on one. They can afford to lose one in a flip, probably 2 in particular. But Berryman's, they don't want to lose these guys. They want to keep these guys in the class, but you got to hold on loosely because they're going to take other trips. And Ole Miss is having a lot of success right now. I didn't see the new rankings, but I'm imagining they're around the top 10 now after the win over LSU. I just think it's something to monitor. It's something to watch because Berryman was actually on campus in Austin 2 weeks ago, kind of there to reaffirm himself. But hey, just watch because he's been to Ole Miss a few times. It's something we're monitoring and paying attention to. And again, out-of-state commits are guys that you always got to kind of watch.
Like you said, if Texas loses 1 from this class, it's okay. 3 you can work with. The 2025 portal class kind of righted the ship as far as guys in classes and having guys at, the sophomore, the junior, that type of classification. But at the certain point, you do want to keep your guys. This one from Ben G. If Berryman leaves, bring back Guerville. I think the focus, at least on a currently committed defensive tackle, may be misplaced. You're going to want to look, Justin, maybe at a guy closer to home than someone from Florida.
Yeah, listen, Texas has their eyes on another. If they could get 5 in this cycle and just be greedy, they would. And that's Jamian Winfield. Richardson, 4-star, committed to USC. Now, he's solid to USC. And after our Charlie Williams went out and saw him a couple weekends ago, we found out he's locked and loaded into USC. Now, that hasn't stopped Texas. And it won't. They're going to continue to push on him. There's a couple other guys. You've got the Keith Doty kid committed to SMU up in the DFW area. He's another one that's on the board. Bad thing about Guerville, he had a really bad injury at the beginning of this season. I don't know the extent, but I know it was like multiple tear type deal. And so that doesn't mean you necessarily back off of him, but Texas hasn't really engaged with him a whole lot since he made his pledge. And so I'm a big fan of Kendall Guerville too. Like I hope him a speedy recovery because he was a very violent player. He kind of similar to some of these other guys in the class. He just plays with a mean streak, but I don't think Guerville will be a guy that Texas is touching base with again. If they can get one more, or if they lose one, watch Jamian Winfield and a couple other in-state guys.
We'll make a quick switch to 2027 wide receiver and Charlie Williams. I had to deal with something up in Dallas, but he wrote about Trey Moore out of Pflugerville Weiss earlier today. And the stats, checking by his Max Preps page, crazy. 39 catches, 646 yards, 9 touchdowns. So he's almost 130 yards per game. In 11 games last year, he was at 38 catches and 562 yards and 6 touchdowns. So he's already shot way past that. Trying to figure out who Pflugerville Weiss has played. I think they're 5A in this area. And just with the way that Austin's expanded, there's always going to be a pretty good football team. So it's not like he's playing, guys who are going to be history majors. Like they're playing some good teams. San Marcos, A&M Consolidated, Hendrickson. They're going to play Buda Hayes, Lockhart, College Station High. Finish the year with Austin Anderson. So you do kind of get the Austin football experience, but there's some really good football still being played. And this is the type of player that, Chris Jackson, there's a lot of great in-state options in 2027 for him. And this, 6'2", 185, putting up that type of production, pretty impressive. And Texas is making their interest in him known.
Absolutely. And I feel like every cycle, there's a handful of Austin area, Central Texas area prospects that Texas kind of gets to know. And then they either pursue or they go in another direction. And I feel like more often than not, they go in another direction. Like they've got a standard and they want to make sure they hit that, but they also want to keep the best talent local that they can. Trey Moore's in that category of trying to keep him close. Trey Moore is a dude. Okay, this is a guy that Chris Jackson and Steve Sarkisian would love in this class. And I think Texas is in a fantastic position for Trey Moore right now. But watch Texas A&M. He was in A&M last weekend for the Auburn game. He had a really good time. He is getting really close to the Aggies. This is going to be a kid. I get a vibe that he's going to stay closer to home, but you're going to get a battle from Texas A&M. You're going to get a battle from Texas Tech. You're going to get probably a battle from Oklahoma in a sense. Like these are going to be kind of those local schools that they go after Trey, because Trey is fantastic. Like he is a really, really good talent. He's been coming to Austin. He's been coming to Texas games for, I feel like 2 years now. I feel like we've known him for a while. But I love Texas where they stand right now. They have prioritized him. They have made sure he understands how important he is to this cycle. Again, he's a local kid that you don't let leave. Some of these guys, you can't take them all. And you only get 25 of them. Trey Moore is not one you let go. You better keep him close to home. But you got to watch the Aggies. I think that's going to be them and Texas Tech are going to be the top competition for Trey Moore services.
Kind of looking at the top 30 or maybe the top 25 receivers in the 2027 On3 industry ranking. 3 of them are from Texas: Alvin Mosley, and then Trey Moore,
Caldwell,
and then Caldwell. So those 3.
They love Caldwell too. They love Caldwell as well. They like Alvin Mosley. He's more of an athlete than he is a wide receiver, polished wide receiver right now, but they really like Mosley. But Trey Moore and Julian Caldwell, they are up there. Those are 2 guys that I think Texas would take at this moment.
And there's a few more from Louisiana that Texas is going to be interested in. Easton Royal. There are some more names.
That was going to be a wild recruitment, Joe.
There are some more names around the state that Texas has had like some minor interest in, but nothing nothing major quite yet. So this may be someone we hear a lot of over the course of the next couple of years. Last but not least, with 2027, got to talk about Landon Williams-Callis, the state champion. I think he's already been named an All-American, like a sophomore All-American. He's had a good enough high school career to be an All-American. And I think, Justin, you can kind of speak to, there was, I don't want to say road bumps, but I don't think this recruitment has been all Texas for like most of the past year. But Chad Scott, Steve Sarkisian, and company are starting to make sure that the Longhorns are staying more and more involved in the conversation.
Yeah, so this guy to me is a no-brainer. He's been getting offers since he was in 8th grade. He owns over 60 of them. He's related to Jaquiz Rogers and those Rogers brothers from the Lamar Consolidated area from years ago that were hyper athletic kids. He's a little ping pong ball. He just goes all the way through, like smoke through a keyhole. Tashard Choice built a good foundation with Williams-Callis, and that was building, that was growing out. And then he took off for Detroit, and Chad Scott took over. When Chad Scott took over, I think he put more focus on the 26s because of the moment and just kind of the tide of what was going on at that time. And I think there was some disconnect with Williams-Callis in Texas there for a brief moment. That's why Steve Sarkisian and Chris Gilbert showed up at Richmond Randall on Thursday, bright and early. They want to assure LWC he is number one on the RB big board. Like that's just what he is, and that's what he does. Listen, this guy, we've been asking about comps. We've been asked about all this stuff. He's a take. He's a fantastic take. He's dynamite on the field. He is little, but he doesn't play small. For whatever reason, he makes it work. Hearing that Gilbert and Sark went by Richmond Randall so early really warmed my heart, because I thought there was going to be more of a disconnect with this running back in Texas, this recruitment. But Gilbert's back on it. Chad Scott is back on it. They caught up this weekend. That's a thing that you want to do, because this kid's going to have his pick. He's going to go wherever he wants to go, whether it's Texas A&M, Ohio State, LSU, Auburn, Alabama, Michigan. He can go anywhere. I don't think anyone leads for this recruitment right now. I think Texas has some slack they're still trying to make up for, but that's the beauty of him being 2027. You've got plenty of time. You got 18 months to make this thing right. Texas is going to continue to work on him. They want to get him back on campus, Joe. That's the next big step, getting back on campus for a game. But the Horns did a good job getting back into this recruitment, because there was a time where there was a little bit too much of a gap of non-communication. Texas re-energized that, and that's where they're at right now.
I'm trying to see what his season low for rushing yards is.
200.
Yeah, I feel like that's a fool's errand. 5 games, 1,205 yards, 241 per game. Richmond Randall is just beating everybody. They had a really close
champion. Richmond Randall.
They had a really close game in their most recent outing. It looks like against Iowa Colony, and that's another growing part of the city of Houston.
That's Jaden Warren, I think.
But that is just a part of Houston that is producing talent, that is growing. And Landon Williams-Callis may be the guy who not only puts a couple state titles on the map for Richmond Randall, but also puts that whole program on the map, basically.
Let me hit Roger's question real quick so we can wrap up on Bo Ogden.
There we go.
Man, Roger G, do you think Texas stays in state in 2027? O-lineman with Kennedy Brown, Ishmael Kamara, and Brian Swanson. I sure the hell hope so, because those 3 are prioritized right now. Those guys get the Kyle Flood treatment, the Steve Sarkisian treatment, the Texas football treatment on a regular basis. They want to get Kennedy Brown back on campus. Don't be surprised if he pops in Dallas for Texas OU. Ish Kamara will be in Dallas for Texas OU. He just came off a trip to Texas a couple weekends ago. If I was feeling RPM-ish, I'd put one in for Texas for Kamara. I was feeling RPM-ish there a couple days ago, so I put one in for Brian Swanson. He's the guard tackle out of Dallas South Oak Cliff. He looks only better. Coach Williams has been on him for a long time. Great eval there. So that's what I'm talking about, Roger. 2027 to me is the year of the offensive tackle. You take as many of those kids as you possibly can, because out of this roster in Austin, the only position in the program that lacks numbers is offensive tackle.
Before we keep going, end with a little bit of hoops, got to show some love to our sponsor, that is Rhoback.
There's only one way to describe Rhoback: best fit, best feel. For those who aren't familiar with Rhoback, they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Rhoback has released so many items within their new licensed game day collection, and it's our favorite. With novel polo designs and clean hoodie and Q-zip designs from some of your favorite schools like Texas, it's definitely worth checking out. Nobody else on the market is pairing these level of custom designs with this quality of activewear. Rhoback's everyday shorts or their Delta Performance pants are the perfect pairing as well. Both are super comfortable, have an elastic waistband, and great fabric that's made to have the appearance of a nice short look, with a comfort for a day on the move. Rhoback has also been proudly leading the NIL charge, having signed partnerships with multiple college football stars like Quinn Ewers. They are becoming the go-to brand for college athletes across the country. Use the code TEXAS20 on Rhoback.com for a generous 20% off for all new customers through the end of this week. That's RHOBACK.com and 20% off all performance polos, shorts, and more with Texas 20.
All right, Justin, got to hit on a little bit of hoops today. Sean Miller got the first commitment in his 2026 class earlier today. Let me make sure I got this.
Look at that picture. I'm going to tell you something, Joe. That's a photo. Like, that's skills, whoever took that.
Well, yeah, it was pretty fun to be there. Let me make sure I got it pulled up correctly so y'all can hear it as it happens. But earlier this afternoon, Bo Ogden of Austin Westlake, he was a Austin St. Michael's product for a brief amount of time. He had a ceremony over at Westlake High School. He is the son of Chris Ogden, former Texas forward, former UT Arlington head coach, current Texas general manager. And this was the moment that Bo, there we go, decided he wanted to be a Longhorn.
What were your final decisions today? I'll be continuing my athletic and academic career at the University of Texas.
So that
Chris
obviously
Ogden wearing the Travis Scott Texas Longhorn hat. That's substantial. Okay.
Hold on. Yeah, and this was, Chris was obviously there as a parent, but Bo had talked about how he said he didn't tell his dad until earlier today.
No, I ain't buying that.
This is Ogden, obviously a top 35 prospect, a big shooting guard, 6'5", about 190 pounds, and he went from a very well-respected prospect, someone that Purdue, Virginia, Kansas, Gonzaga, and Tennessee, obviously with Rick Barnes, there's a connection there. R. Keenan Womack has a lot of great insight on him over on Inside Texas. They may talk a little bit about him more this week, but Bo Ogden was one of the best shooters in the AAU Adidas League. I'm not exactly sure which one there was. He's one of the best shooters in the country. He was taking about 7 threes a game. He was hitting 46% of them. He went to St. Michael's, helped them win at the TAPS level, talked a lot about how he wants to help Westlake win, I think, their first boys state championship in basketball.
Really?
And they were state semis a few years ago, state finals 1 year after.
You remember a couple of years ago, they had their 5 starters were all major 5 D1 players. That was a stock group.
But obviously a big start to the 2026 class for Sean Miller and Justin. We may not always talk a lot about basketball, and that may be a recruiting market that has expanded nationally and even internationally, but you got to keep the best in-state kids in state, and especially when they're right down the road too.
You do. This is a fun one because this was an easy one for us. I like these kind of recruitments, Joe. These are the fun ones to cover. There's really no there's no doubt. Bo Ogden was always going to go to Texas. He's going to go to Texas since he was a little kid. But I got to cover his dad. I was at the state championship. I believe it was either 99 or 2000 when he was running. He was a 6'5" point guard for Seminole High School.
Yeah.
He helped them win the 3A state championship. He was running the point. He was up at the top of the key running the point, and he was a tremendous shooter. And we've had a couple people on our board ask, what's the comparison to his dad and his skills? And I'll tell you this, they're both plus level shooters, and that is number one for Sean Miller. You're going to have to shoot the ball. For whatever reason, the last few coaches that have come through Texas haven't emphasized shooting the ball. They've emphasized more of athleticism, combo positioning, stuff like that. Sean Miller, that dog don't hunt. You're going to have to shoot the pill, and Bo Ogden can shoot. I think Bo might be a more complete player than his dad was. He's definitely a little more athletic. And Chris was a pretty athletic guy, but Bo has a little bit more of a skill set to himself. And so I think this is a great get because it fits what Sean Miller wants. They're going to add probably 2 other guys to this class, and they're going to be comparable. They're going to be similar. They're going to be able to shoot the ball. They're going to be able to handle the ball, and they're going to be able to play solid defense. And that's kind of what Sean Miller's MO is going to be. I think Ogden fits that. And again, telling his dad dad didn't know till this morning. No, I'm not buying that one bit. This is a family affair. Chris Ogden, anybody from his family was going to be attending Texas. And if it wasn't Texas, it was going to be Tennessee because Rick Barnes is like a grandfather to this guy. He's known him his entire life. And so that they had that tightness there. And I will leave you with one note on basketball. I don't know if Ogden's going to be the last basketball commit with some Texas ties in this class. I think there might be another one down the road. We're definitely paying attention to it. We're definitely looking at it. I think this class might have a little bit more of a Texas flavor than what we're used to. Let's stay the course and see what happens. Ogden's the first one in. He won't be the first one out.
We'll hit with 2 questions because I like both these.
Okay. I was going to say something to David, but you go ahead.
Okay. With Jermaine Bishop now being the state's most prolific wide receiver ever, you think he can reach consistent 5-star stats? All right. For the first part, he's got a little bit of ways to go to be the most prolific ever.
Brock Boyd has lapped him.
But I think there's a chance.
And Jalen Lott.
There's about 14 or 15 receivers, judging by Dave Campbell's, who have ever recorded 4,000 career receiving yards. He is on his way. He gets 400 more yards this season. Jermaine Bishop can hit that 4,000 yard. I don't know if it's going to get to the Marvin Mims, Jordan Shipley,
no
level because those guys are all at 5,400.
And those are prolific passing offenses, by the way.
And at least according to Max Preps right now, Bishop is at 3,600. But I think he can hit that 4,000 mark. And here's the thing also, Williams David, if he keeps doing stuff like he's been doing, they're not going to have any choice but to make him a 5-star. And I think especially when it becomes clear that, he's not like doing, and this is a good thing to see on video, he's not doing the Travis Hunter thing and then, quote, doing the Travis Hunter thing. When they see like this guy can be a impact wide receiver at the next level who looks like some of the current impact wide receivers, namely one who is wearing number 2 for Alabama right now, I think they're all going to look and see like, okay, this guy is a definite 5-star. And it's not like, everybody's sleeping on him. There are 1 or 2 services who are kind of dragging, things down a little bit. But I think everybody's going to look around and finally see like, look, there are a lot of guys who can put up 100 yards a game. There are a lot of guys who can put 200 yards a game up. There are not a lot of guys who can put 300 yards a game up. And so I think they're going to see the light on Jermaine Bishop real quick. Justin, do you want to get this Horns fans question real quick while I go answer the door really fast?
Yes, absolutely. Horns fan 224 says, will Texas ever be a big player in basketball NIL like they are in football? Will we ever get to a top 5 class or not that level? Horns fan, I've been asking myself this question since I've followed Texas basketball for 30, 35 years. That's the biggest question. I'll take you back. Before they hired Rick Barnes, they had a guy that when they fired Tommy Penders, they were going to hire named Rick Majerus. And the problem with Rick Majerus was that they had just hired Mack Brown, and Mack Brown was making quite a bit of money. It's football. Well, Majerus made more. And there was a saying in Texas that you couldn't pay the basketball coach more than you could pay the football coach. Coincidentally, Rick Majerus did not take the job, even though he was very close to. He didn't take it. It was Rick Barnes, and the rest was history. But that kind of answers your question. Football is always going to be king in Texas. And when it comes to NIL, a significant chunk is always going to go towards football. Now, basketball is next up. They're the next in line. And you build the Moody Center, that's buy-in. That's the administration and the boosters and everybody kind of having a linear vision and everything getting on the same page. So I don't know. And they've had a top 5 classes before. They flirted around with those guys because they usually, up until last year before last, they were getting a 5-star every year, or at least one that was local, a Trey Johnson, a Jared Allen, a Miles Turner, guys of that sort. I don't know if they'll ever get to that level, though, the football level. I don't see it in Austin. I will say this. Sean Miller gets together a group and they make a run to the Final Four, basketball will have its own place. When TJ Ford and those guys did that, Rick Barnes had a run in the mid-2000s where basketball was packed every Tuesday and Saturday, like without fail. If Texas wins consistently, those fans will show up. The basketball will have its own place in Austin. It will never overtake football, but just understand they do well in NIL for basketball. They take care of those guys, and they do that to try to get better guys. And so it'll never be more than football, but all they have to do is win to kind of have their own spot with basketball, especially with the girls having so much success and Vic Schaefer being so close to bringing a natty on that side of the court. I like this one by Williams. If you want to give that one, the one about Austin Gooseby.
I will 1 second. I will say when it comes to basketball NIL, there is a dedicated group of donors. I don't know how much they have behind them, but they can get talented prospects.
Yes.
The thing is, at this point, most high school classes probably going to be 2 to 3 guys. Yeah. The next step is, what are you going to be able to do in the portal? And then finally, within the SEC, think about schools like Kentucky and Arkansas. And I'm trying to think of who else might fit this bill, but probably no others. Maybe Auburn at this point. There are going to be some teams who, instead of the 15% of the house settlement cap to men's basketball, they're going to dedicate a lot more.
Yes.
Kentucky for sure. I think Arkansas too. Arkansas too. And so there are going to be some schools that dedicate more resources, have a higher dollar figure pool probably, or ahead of Texas. And I think Texas, if they get it going, and again, they also have a coach who can make up, I feel like, for some talent deficiencies. And deficiency is just I just mean like, who can bridge the gap. Maybe that's a better term. Yeah. But like, we'll see. I mean, Texas basketball has been very fair weather. There are dedicated fans to it, but a lot of people are just kind of fair weather. And, we've seen that over the course of the past couple of years. You want to get the Gooseby question?
Yeah. One more before we get out of here. David Williams says, Austin Gooseby is 6'5". Trevor Gooseby 6'7". Hey, do you know their older brother Grant 6'6"? So that makes it da-da-da-da. I actually wish their heights were switched. What? It would be great for Texas to get both Bo Ogden and Gooseby, and Ogden to play shooting guard and Gooseby to play small forward. I actually answered this question at Inside Texas a couple days ago. So, David Williams, if you want that answer, you got to come see us at InsideTexas.com. We're running a special right now, brother. You can get 1 week for free, up for $1. Get you in for 1 week. It also gets you a year of The Athletic. This is the time. Texas is about to go on a run in the SEC, and there's not a better time to hang out with us at Inside Texas in our community. Let us earn that business. Come see me, David Williams, at InsideTexas.com, and I'll have that Austin Gooseby answer for you.
Awesome little recruiting intel show here. So looking forward to the rest of the week, talking Florida, maybe a little bit more hoops. Going to be a lot of fun. So, Justin, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on Recruiting Intel on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com.